Hey guys, Dylan Allen from AllenEnduranceCoaching.com. Today's training demonstration is all about how to floss and how to get a bunch out of it. So first, a little background about flossing, what it is and how it works. Flossing, there are several things that I've heard called flossing, but generally what I'm talking about when I'm talking to clients about it is when you're wrapping a tissue with a TheraBand or a resistance band and then working that muscle through a range of motion in order to break up adhesions, put a little bit of slack in the system. You know, there's a few things you can use it for. But fundamentally, it's similar to foam rolling, but it allows you to get some different angles than you can get on a traditional foam roller. And it also allows you to get all the way around whatever limit is you're using. Like for instance, if you're rolling your quad, you have to roll on your quad, and then you got to rotate your leg a little bit, and then roll some more. And even if you're doing, the rolling back and forth, side to side, and then getting the flexion and extension, you still have to make sure you actually find that hot spot to get on it. Whereas when you're flossing, you're taking your TheraBand or your resistance band or whatever you got. An inner tube tire works well, and you wrap your leg as if you had a strain or a sprain or something like that, or your arm if you're flossing your biceps or whatever. So it goes all the way around. And so consequently, what ends up happening is you can do one set of the flossing and get all of the tissues at that point, at that constriction point, as opposed to having to do one part of your thigh and then the other part of your thigh and then get around your groin and then get one part of your hamstring and the other part of your hamstring and then your IT band. You can just do it all at once. And this is really handy because sometimes when we have something that's uncomfortable, the reason why it's uncomfortable is because it is having to pick up the slack of another tissue, some other muscle fiber or something that is too tight, and so that the one that is sore is having to pick up the slack and is overworked, and that's why it's sore. And so if we're just foam rolling the sore one, we're not actually addressing the underlying problem, which is the lack of motion or for whatever reason, in the actual muscle fiber that's having the problem. So by getting all the way around, we can ensure we're probably going to get everything that's underneath that band, and we're probably going to actually free up whatever tissue it is that's actually tacked down that is causing the impingement and range motion issue that is the root cause of why something is sore. Like foam rolling, it's a great thing to do before you run. It's a great way to kind of put a little bit of slack in the system before you start getting out the door and demanding ballistic, quicker eccentric loads on those muscles. I've had several clients over the years that come to me with IT band problems, and by foam rolling or flossing, normally flossing works a little better, before they get out the door, even to do their dynamic warm-up, it helps put a little bit of slack in the system so they can run pain-free. And once you can run pain-free, then you can actually correct your mechanics and address the root cause of that tight IT band or runner's knee or whatever, because you have full range of motion, and so you can actually do the work you need to do instead of just shifting some load from one type group to another and compensating. So I'm going to run you through a demo real quick of how to do this. I'm going to demonstrate I'm going to do it on my quads and my hamstrings, because that's the most common issue I see with my runners coming in. If they have an issue like IT band issue or hamstrings or quads or a psoas issue, like all that kind of stuff, that kind of upper leg tissue adhesion mobility is kind of, tied to the root cause of whatever problem they have when they come to me. And so that's the most common use I've seen for this for runners. It's really useful for cyclists too. with the tight hamstrings and IT bands. But you can use this technique on a lot of different tissues. And so let's get to it. All right, so if we're going to be flossing our quads, hamstring, IT band, the first step is to actually get those muscle groups wrapped. And so I personally like these, they're kind of like a TheraBand, resistance band. I like the fairly stout ones. I like them to be wide. That way I can cover more leg per time around. It's just a little more time efficient. It's less likely it's going to roll up on me. But I have used resistance bands that are only like 1.5 inches wide to do this as well. That works just fine. Again, like a bicycle tire inner tube works pretty well. It's got a good amount of resistance on it, so it'll work. Someone borrowed my band here. So generally, you can unwind it all. I personally like to do mine bound up. Big shout out to Power Systems, by the way. They make pretty good resistance bands, and they're fairly cost effective too. I picked up my set for, I think, $3 a piece last year or the year before at a fitness convention where I was going to do some continuing education. But yeah, they're fairly cheap. They're durable. They're reliable. But what we're going to do here is we're going to start as high up as we can. We're going to start at the top. We're just going to kind of tack it down, and then we're going to roll it around, and we're just going to wrap our leg as if we had a strain or a sprain or something like that. And you want a little bit of tension on it. Notice we got some overlap here. We're about half overlapped on each layer. We want a little bit of tension on it. We don't want it completely slack, but we don't want it so tight that we're cutting off the circulation. And so we get it all the way around. Then we get to our tail end here. We just tuck the tail end in. Just like so. Now you'll notice as soon as you get it on that it kind of feels like your muscle wants to be contracted. And that's pretty common. If you have it so tight, the first time doing this, you might want to do it with your shoes off so you can track the color of your toes. Toes start turning blue or white, obviously cutting off blood flow. You've got it too tight. You take it off, loosen it up. Your foot should not go numb. So, at this point, we're going to go ahead and stand up. And you don't have to stand up. You can do this seated. If you're feeling really beat up, you can do this seated. And you can do it sitting on the floor, slide your foot back and forth on the floor if you need that to help support the weight of your leg. Or you can just do it seated, just in and out. And what we're doing here is we're just flexing the quads and then the hamstrings, extending our leg, and then bringing it in. And by working those muscles through that range of motion, they're getting flossed through that tight spot in the middle where the band is. And normally 10 reps is plenty to do it. The other thing you can do is you can do these as squats. All right, so to do these as squats, we have the leg wrapped up. To save time when you're doing squats, you can do both legs at the same time if you want to do them both. And that'll save you from feeling like you're lopsided. But even standing here, you'll notice my right leg, which is the one that's wrapped, kind of wants to naturally be kind of just hanging here if I don't have weight on it in a semi-contracted position. Whereas my left leg can just dangle normally, right? And that's because of the pressure of the band. So, if you get set up and you're doing both legs at the same time, it'll keep the pressure even, and you'll feel a little more balanced. To do the work, to do the floss, once you got it wrapped up, you're just going to stand up, you're going to engage your core, engage the glutes. We want to have good mechanics on these squats. We don't want to have our back shaking around. We don't want to lose lower back integrity. We want good mechanics on these squats. They're just body weight, nice and slow and even, but we still want to do it with good mechanics. And so we just want to come down, keeping the knees over the feet, and then squeeze it back up. But notice, fundamentally, we're doing the same thing we were doing sitting down, where we're extending the leg, and then we're curling the leg. And we're working those quads and the hamstrings through that full range of motion, back and forth. And again, 10 reps should do the trick for you. Now, obviously, if you're using a band that doesn't cover your entire quad, you can do the top half, do your 10 reps, and then take it off, move it down, do the next section of your leg. And you can do this for your quads, for your calves. You can do it on your ankles, and kind of work your Achilles and your foot. You can do it on your arms and your shoulders and your forearms, for you gym rats out there. Honestly, it is probably my favorite technique for creating a little bit of slack in the system. I've used it a lot. It's helped a lot of runners and a lot of multi-sport athletes that I've worked with, and a lot of just personal training clients. Little $3 Power Systems resistance band will go a long way towards keeping you injury-free. The big thing is, though, it can't be too tight. You don't want to cut off blood flow. You only need to do about 10 reps. Even if you're doing like a dedicated mobility session and you're doing squats on both legs, you're hitting both legs at the same time, and just 3 sets of 10 reps, it's fine. Just body weight, smooth. And that's especially the case if you have to, you're using a shorter band or a narrower one. So if it's narrower, you're going to get less of your leg per set. If you're doing 3 sets of 10 body weight squats with the TheraBand on, the resistance band on, that will help get you mobilized. They'll help break up any of those adhesions that are keeping those tissues tacked down so they're not sliding past each other. It'll make it so that nerves are able to slide through the grommets in your muscles that they're supposed to be able to, and it'll just make you more functional. You'll be able to move without those impingements. And a lot of times, once we free up those impingements, because we can move better, we can actually run faster with less effort. We can bike faster with less effort and with less pain. So yeah, pain-free, faster, more efficient. It's like the magic trio that we're all looking for, right? So make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell down there. Share this with your friends. Let me know what you want to know about. What techniques and training talks do you want to hear about? Because I'd rather make content you want to see than not. Leave a comment, shoot me an email, get in touch, follow us on Facebook, Strava, Instagram. You know the drill. Until next week, train smart.